What's up, YouTube? It's a Jack Crypto Guy coming with another time-sensitive update. Obviously, you guys, obviously engaged a lot on my previous video about the, market manipulation that I think is kind of going on behind the scenes with Binance and BNB. And I just wanted to make a part two as to my theory of what I think is going on and what you guys can do to capitalize on either making a lot of money or saving yourself from getting liquidated if you're a leverage trader. Now, obviously, if you've been on crypto Twitter or any kind of if you've been in crypto longer than the last year, you would understand that there is no shortage of these leverage flush positions that kind of get liquidated. And it makes a lot of sense when you understand that there's not as many players in the market as there previously was. There's not a lot of new money. It's a lot of just rotation of capital, which is why you see new narratives kind of take off every couple months. And you see, for example, we noticed that there was a huge surge in layer ones, really early on, after the 2023 bottom, I would say. You saw specific altcoins like layer ones or whatever the case may be, those went up like crazy. And then from there, we went into a miniature meme super cycle. We had Dog with Hat or Pepe or whatever the case may be. And then that changed into artificial intelligence. And then that went from gaming. And then that went from, it just, the list goes on and on of different narratives. And now we're in a decentralized perpetuals exchange kind of meta narrative / privacy with Zcash. And obviously the exchanges, they all know this, they're the final bosses when it comes to the crypto markets. They're the ones that can pretty much dictate the price because they're the ones that work hand in hand with these market makers, specifically Binance. And the reason why Binance has such a monopoly is because obviously they've been the old guard. They were the first people that were innovating in the space. They have the most amount of funds. They have the most amount of backing. They don't operate basically with the United States. They're unregulated, they're offshore, and so they're not really, behold to the actual regulations that, Coinbase is and things of that nature. So obviously they can be a lot more predatory when it comes to their practices or, whatever the case they want to do, right? And so what happens is there's all these narratives that kind of get pushed, and it's usually by these larger exchanges because they have undisclosed key opinion leaders, which are called KOLs. And so they kind of push out these hot narratives to get people to buy those coins, to trade those coins, because the exchanges don't necessarily make money off of the assets that they hold. They make money based off the fees that, customers use to, keep that in the account. They make money off of trading fees, when you're buying and selling, and they make the most amount of money when they liquidate leverage traders. And so they have, open order books. They can see where all of the leverage traders pretty much have their positions and where they'll get liquidated. So again, you want to visualize this as kind of like Pac-Man, and it's they're eating up the liquidity in both directions. And so when you see too much traders on one side of the trade, it's usually a good indication that the market's going to go in the opposite direction. And the most indicative and most transparent way to see this is whenever you see these large transfers from Binance to specifically Wintermute, which is the main market maker when it comes to, buying and selling large quantities of assets. And so you'll notice that right after you see Binance in a huge transaction of Solana, there's been a lot of speculation too that they don't even hold Solana or as much assets as they're basically sending over to Wintermute to flush these prices. So there's a lot of speculation that it could be customer funds, and that's a whole separate issue, and I don't really want to get into all of that. I'm just kind of bringing you guys awareness of what is kind of going on behind the scenes, because a lot of people, maybe they know about crypto, but they don't know about the manipulation that goes on in the background or the huge game that all these whales basically use. Because when you understand it from I would say a whale's perspective, it's completely different than just obviously people think if the price goes up, that's the only way people are making money. But no, the exchanges, they just want to make money off of they make money in the moves, not necessarily their appreciation of prices. And so basically there's a lot of accumulation going on with Bitcoin. And so there's only two ways that they can really accumulate Bitcoin, or anyone for that matter. It's saying the price is up so high that people want to sell, and they get, they're just euphoric and they want to realize their profits, or you crash the price so much that, they get scared and they want to sell thinking that it's going to go lower. And then the final way is obviously liquidating these traders. So I would just kind of caution whenever it comes to your trading, and I wouldn't really recommend anybody leverage trade at all. I only leverage trade when it, basically when there's majority of positions that get wiped out, and I don't go above 5x leverage because that would only let the price go about 20% in the opposite direction. And so basically what's going on is there's no shortage of these news articles. There's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to the macro environment. And so exchanges use these narratives to flush the price. And usually what happens is they'll do the opposite of what makes the most amount of sense. So for example, whenever you see really good news going on and you see all these traders kind of like open up long positions thinking the price is going to go up, what typically happens is they'll let enough people get into those trades before sending the price in the opposite direction to basically liquidate those traders. And so it's just been a lot more blatant in my opinion. And I'm not sure if this is how long it's going to go on for. My best guess is once all this regulation kind of takes place, where you have the Stablecoin Act, you have the Clarity Act, and all this kind of stuff, I think that it's going to put a damper on like Binance's activities, or frankly any like non-KYC offshore exchange. They're going to be severely handicapped when all this regulation kind of takes place, and I think that they see the writing on the wall. And it's also really weird timing how like obviously CZ's like out of jail now. And he's always looked at as like this like really humble guy who's like for the people, but you have to remember like he operates the biggest exchange in history, right? And there's a lot of speculation with like Binance and its ties, and whatever the case may be, there's obviously like rivalries between him and Sam Bankman-Fried, who was like, he was like the talking head of Solana. He wasn't like actually in the Solana Foundation, but it was basically like a fight between CZ and SBF because, obviously CZ is like the CEO of Binance and BNB is their native coin. And so he basically CZ was the reason why FTX essentially went under, which led to the cascade of liquidations in Solana and the price of Solana going down. And then when Hyperliquid was really prevalent and they were like going crazy, had a lot of adoption and a lot of popularity, Binance also attacked one of their coins in the ecosystem, Jelly, trying to basically shut down Hyperliquid in that sense. And Hyperliquid actually, obviously they survived that and they've been doing well. In my opinion, they've been really innovative when it comes to the cryptocurrency market and decentralized, exchange perpetuals and all that kind of stuff. And so you look at this and there's always just like an ongoing rivalry. It always seems to be taking place from Binance's standpoint. And it looks really weird right now that, obviously the markets kind of they've taken a dip, gold's at all-time high, stocks are at all-time highs, tech stocks are going to all-time high, and Bitcoin is usually, right now it just made an all-time high, but it's also been trading sideways or going down. And whenever Bitcoin goes down, altcoins tend to go down like 10 to 15%. And you notice that BNB and Aster are basically the only two that are going up, which basically you have Binance's native coin not being not being on the hook or being like completely unaffected with the liquidations going on. And then you have Aster, which has like record-setting like volume when it comes to like the perpetuals exchanges. It's been so blatant with like what's going on. They're basically using this decentralized exchange, which, I guess you can call this conveniently. They have like dark pools where you can't really see the trades, and they kind of paint this as like, oh, well, this is for like your privacy, that so like you don't have to like worry about people seeing your trades. But I think it's also about a lot of people not seeing their trades. And obviously there's a big airdrop going on, so there's going to be a lot of volume, but not to the extent that it's been doing. And it's so much so that it's been delisted also from like DeFi Llama and other like on-chain analytics, because it's just like it's abnormal. Like we all know this, and it makes perfect sense why obviously BNB and Aster are going up or staying pretty much the same while the whole market seems to go down. And so I'm saying all of this to say that you need to take a step back and remove the bias that you have. Like if you're stuck in coins that maybe haven't gone up or don't have as much attention or whatever the case may be, this is clearly trying to, set up for a BNB season, BNB meme coins. You have like CZ even talking about specific meme coins. He's kind of taken a step back now, but it's really weird how like the main, like most richest guy in crypto is just like KOLing for all these like random like launch pads, meme coins, etc. It's kind of weird. And so I would just use this as caution because there's a lot of uncertainty in the short term where I think the price is going to go for Bitcoin. And I think that if you're somebody who leverage trades a lot, I would highly suggest either hedging against that or doing, make the best scenario for you. Like, be prepared if, liquidations continue to cascade down on the downside or the upside. And, you can't really pay attention too much to what people are saying on social media, especially like on crypto Twitter, because nobody has a crystal ball. No one knows what's actually going to happen. You can just do the best that you know, right? And so I just, I hate seeing people lose money and falling prey to like all this like stuff that they have no idea about. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention and just kind of let you know what I think is going on in the market. And I'm not too worried. I still think that we're gonna have a really bullish quarter 4. And I'll obviously update you guys on any updates that I see coming in the market, what I'm personally doing. And if you have any questions, obviously drop them in the comment section, drop a follow, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. I'll see y'all soon. Bye.